The year was 1911 in the rugged backwoods of Oklahoma, a place where dreams were forged from sweat and coal dust. The locals called the small town Gravel Ridge, but miners jokingly referred to it as Hope Hollow because hope was the only thing anyone could afford to hold on to. Families had packed up wagons and traveled for miles because they heard rumors of a new silver mine discovered deep within the Rocky Hills. The promise of steady pay drew men like a flame draws moths, unaware of what waits in the shadows. Among these hopeful families was Thomas Rourke, a 38-year-old father with coal under his nails, but kindness in his eyes. His wife Eliza was gentle yet strong, and their 10-year-old son Samuel idolized his father. Life wasn't glamorous, but Thomas believed the mine would finally give his family a better future. Yet even on the first day, the wind carried whispers down the shaft, and the earth trembled lightly, as if warning them. The mine was called Eldridge Vein. It sprawled into caverns the size of cathedrals, older than anyone could imagine. The foreman, Mr. Clayton Briggs, a powerhouse of a man, dismissed warnings from the old folks who muttered about cursed land and buried spirits. "Superstition doesn't fill your pockets," he'd roar. But the town's oldest resident, Mabel Finch, had a different view. She claimed that land once belonged to a tribe driven away decades earlier. They warned miners never to disturb the deepest tunnels, where the faceless ones linger. Everyone laughed it off. Everyone except Samuel, who overheard her and asked his father, "Daddy, what if the mine doesn't want us there?" Thomas ruffled his hair and smiled. "Mines don't want or not want, son. They're just rock and ore." But in his heart, Thomas felt unsettled. The first incident happened only a week in. A miner named Ernest Hale failed to exit the tunnels during shift change. Search crews went down with lanterns flickering in the stale air. They found Ernest stumbling, breathing like a dying beast. When they pulled him into the sunlight, the town gasped. His face was gone. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just smooth, pale flesh, as if someone pressed clay over where his identity used to be. He couldn't speak, but a sound wheezed from his throat. A low, desperate moan, as if begging for something none of them could understand. Clayton Briggs insisted it was a mining accident, a cave-in injury. But everyone knew that no rockfall could erase a person's face. From that moment, fear moved into Gravel Ridge, and hope began to rot. Some families fled immediately, wagons rolling east by lantern light. But others stayed. Poverty makes people brave or desperate, sometimes both. Clayton Briggs doubled wages and promised the tragedy would never happen again. Men like Thomas stayed because they had nowhere else to go. Samuel didn't understand and grew worried for his father. At church, Pastor Mitchell led a prayer. "Lord, protect the men who go into the darkness, and if evil lives there, expose it." But when the congregation whispered afterward, the word evil echoed all too real. In the shadows near the mine entrance, a shape like a tall man, featureless and still, was spotted by a young girl, but disappeared when adults looked. Thomas worked alongside his best friend, Caleb Morrow, a jokester who always found laughter even in misery. But that day, he didn't crack a single joke. They were ordered deeper into the mine, past where Ernest Hale collapsed. The tunnels felt wrong, cold where they should have been hot, silent where echoes should have lived, and a stench like rotting flowers drifted from the rock. Their pickaxes struck stone, and suddenly the walls bled black dust. Samuel later asked his father, "Did you find anything good today?" Thomas hesitated. "Just rocks, son. Just rocks." But deep beneath his calm voice, terror stirred. Another miner, Joseph Tate, disappeared at midday. They found him hours later standing motionless in a silent tunnel. His face was gone too. But Joseph moved differently than Ernest. His head turned sharply, as though something inside controlled him like a puppet. He tried to grab the lantern, smashing it. Shadows swallowed the tunnel, and in the panic, someone screamed that they saw other faceless figures lurking in the darkness. Clayton Briggs ordered silence. Not another word leaves this mine. Threats held their tongues, but fear held their souls. Samuel woke one night drenched in sweat. He dreamed of his father deep underground, screaming without a mouth. He ran to Thomas and held him tight. "Please don't go back there." Thomas knelt, heart aching. "I have to work. For you. For Mama." Eliza watched, torn between reason and fear. But later that night, Thomas found Samuel sleepwalking, standing outside the mine, staring into darkness as if called by silent voices. Samuel whispered, "They want their faces back." When morning came, he didn't remember a thing. Unable to ignore her fear, Eliza visited Mabel Finch. Mabel revealed the legend. Long ago, miners from the east came and dug into sacred land, a burial site of a tribe whose warriors painted their faces with symbols of honor. The miners stole silver from the dead. A curse was spoken. "May thieves lose the faces they greedily wear." Mabel's eyes filled with dread. Those tunnels, they reach the bones of the faceless dead. Now the spirits rise to reclaim what was stolen. Eliza felt her chest tighten. "My husband is still down there." Mabel took her hand. "Then pray he remains a man and doesn't become one of them." Back underground, Thomas noticed faces painted on the stone walls. Crude carvings of screaming visages, mouths stretched wide in silent terror. Caleb tapped one with his light. "Looks like they're watching us." Suddenly, a rumble shook the mine. The faces cracked and fell, pieces shattering at their feet. Then the voices began, not spoken out loud, but inside their minds. "Leave or join us." Thomas dropped to his knees, gripping his ears. Caleb muttered frantically, "This place ain't right, Thomas. We need to leave. Now." But if they walked away, their families would starve. Trapped between death and darkness, or death from hunger, they kept working. That evening, while the town gathered for supper, Eliza ran toward the mine entrance screaming. A miner approached, stumbling, weak, clothes familiar. Thomas. But when he stepped into the torchlight, Samuel collapsed in horror. His father's face was gone. His chest heaved, but no words escaped. Samuel reached to touch him, and Thomas recoiled as if Samuel's hand burned him. Eliza grabbed her child, shaking. "That's not your father." But a hand reached out, trembling, pleading, like a soul begging not to be abandoned. Caleb came running behind, tears streaming. "He saved me. That thing saved me." Thomas, or whatever remained, collapsed in front of them. Eliza screamed until her voice broke. Hope Hollow had become a nightmare without mercy, and now the curse had reached the Rourke family. Thomas's faceless body lay in their home, wrapped in blankets, as if warmth could restore what the mine had stolen. Eliza never left his side, whispering prayers he could not hear. Samuel sat gripping his father's hand, smooth, cold, unrecognizable. "Papa, you promised to take me fishing again." No reaction, no voice. Only a faint shiver under the skin, like a soul still fighting inside. Samuel overheard adults whisper, "He's lost. Best to put him out of his misery." Samuel stood up, fire burning in his chest. "No," he shouted. "He's still my father." That night, Samuel made a silent vow. He would go into the mine himself and bring back his father's face. Samuel sought out old Mabel Finch again. Her lantern glowed like a single star refusing to die in endless night. She listened to his plea, eyes heavy with sorrow. "Child, the mind steals identity, not flesh. It takes their history, their stories, their souls. She opened an ancient wooden box with great care. Inside were tribal masks, each carved with sacred symbols. These belonged to the people who once guarded those tunnels. A mask can protect your own face or restore one that's been stolen. Samuel knew what he needed. I'll bring back who my father is. Mabel placed a carved mask into his trembling hands. Then remember who you are. The mine will try to take that first. Under a moon sinking behind clouds, Samuel crept to the mine entrance. He expected fear to drag his feet. Instead, love pushed him forward. He tied the mask over his face. The wood was surprisingly warm, alive even. Caleb appeared suddenly, breathless. "You're not going alone, kid. He saved me. I owe him." Armed with lanterns and shovels, they entered the darkness. The tunnels groaned like waking monsters. Faceless figures stirred deeper inside, watching. Whispers slithered through the air. One face is not enough. But Samuel kept walking. They reached a massive cavern, a hidden heart of the mine. Dozens of faces floated in the air, shimmering like ghostly masks. Eyes, noses, mouths, all twisting silently, searching for their rightful owners. Caleb gasped. "Sweet Lord, those are them. The miners." Samuel moved forward, heart pounding. On the wall carved in stone was Thomas's face, familiar features frozen in a scream. He reached toward it, but a faceless guardian emerged from the shadows, towering and furious. It struck Caleb, sending him crashing into the rocks. Samuel stood between the creature and his friend. "You can't have him. He's my father." The cavern trembled with anger. A voice invaded Samuel's mind. Millions of whispers woven into one. "They stole from us. We steal from them." Samuel cried out, "Take silver, take gold, but don't take their faces." The whispers grew louder. "Faces are identity, stories, pride. They disrespected us. They forgot us." Samuel suddenly understood. The faceless spirits were not monsters. They were protectors turned vengeful, erased and dishonored by greed. He knelt, placing his mask on the ground. "I will remember you. I will tell your story. Please, let my father go." The chamber fell silent. A choice had been offered. A small, glowing mask drifted toward Samuel, his father's face. But the whispers returned. A trade. All stories deserve to live. Samuel froze. They weren't offering a gift. They wanted Samuel's face in return. Caleb yelled, clutching his ribs, "No, Samuel, think." Samuel ignored him. Slowly, bravely, painfully. He removed the protective tribal mask. "Take my face. Let my father go home." Tears streamed down his cheeks, while he still had them. The spirits surrounded Samuel, wind whipping violently. Caleb screamed his name as the world turned black. On the surface, Eliza sat beside Thomas, when suddenly he began to gasp and choke. His skin twisted, bones shifting beneath. Then, a miracle, his face returned. Eyes filled with confusion and fear, mouth trembling. "Eliza? Samuel?" She collapsed into his arms, sobbing with joy. "You're home. You're home." But Samuel was not there, and Thomas knew instantly. "Where's our boy?" Eliza's heart shattered into dread. Caleb dragged himself out of the mine, bloodied and breathless. In his arms was Samuel, alive. But his face? Gone. Thomas fell to his knees, a wail tearing from his throat. Samuel turned blindly toward the familiar voice, his hand trembling to memorize his father's features instead of seeing them. Thomas held his son's hand against his cheek and broke into sobs. "I'm here, Sammy. I'm here." Samuel's fingers traced Thomas's restored face, but he had given up his own. Mabel arrived with her lantern, sorrow in her eyes but hope still burning. His sacrifice saved a town. The spirits honored a promise. She knelt beside Samuel. Faces can be taken, but stories? Stories live forever. Thomas embraced his son close. I will be your eyes. I will show you the world until the day you see again. And Samuel, though silent and faceless, squeezed his father's hand in trust. Some losses are unbearable, but love can make them livable. The mine was closed forever. A memorial was carved above the entrance. Here lies the pride of a forgotten people. We remember you, we honor you. And beside it, another plaque. Samuel Rourke, who gave his face to save hope. Years passed. Samuel learned to walk confidently, guided by Thomas and Eliza's voices. He became a storyteller, speaking through emotion and touch, teaching that identity doesn't come from a reflection. It comes from the heart that beats beneath. Every year the town gathers to tell the stories of the lost tribes, so no face is ever forgotten again. Samuel's sacrifice restored more than his father. It restored respect. It restored memory. It restored humanity. And in quiet moments, when wind blows softly across the hills, some say you can hear the spirits whisper, "We remember you too, Samuel." The end.